Welcome to the Sellin' Podcast with Jeffrey Greif. Jeffrey has spent more than 45 years in sales and marketing, and for more than 25 years, he's presented sales seminars from large corporations to small businesses, as well as teaching university students all about the pride and passion of sales. Now, he's sharing that knowledge and practical advice with you to fast-track your journey to sales success. Whether you're selling a product, a service, or ideas, this is the Sellin' Podcast. And now your host, Jeffrey Greif.
Whoops. Oh, no. No, let me see. What am I going to talk about today? On the Sellin' Podcast. I don't know. Let me see. Do I have my notes here? Do I have my notes? Whoops. Now, for those of you who are still listening, and I would not have blamed anyone who stopped listening, this episode of the Sellin' Podcast is about planning your sales presentation and planning ahead before meeting with a client or a prospect and before attending a networking event. Imagine going to the dentist, and while you're sitting in the dentist's chair, he's fumbling about with some of his equipment, mumbling under his breath. Now, where did I put the mouth mirror? Is this the right dental drill for this patient? And, where the heck are those needles? Nurse, did we order enough Novocaine for this week? How fast would you jump out of your chair and run out of that dentist's office? See, we all expect professionalism and preparation from our dentist, yes, from all of our professionals. And as a professional business owner or a professional salesperson, your clients are expecting the same professionalism and preparation from you. You've got to prepare before attending a networking event, and you've got to prepare before a sales meeting with a client or a prospect. For sake, take this podcast, for example. You think I just turn on the microphone and start yammering about whatever it is that comes to my mind? No way. I keep a journal of hundreds of topics that I research, and opinions and stories that I've written down and lessons that I've learned. And I also learn more about how the most effective way would be for me to teach you these selling strategies, tips, and lessons that I've learned over these past 40 plus years. I continue to read books and attend seminars and listen to instructive audio on sales and marketing and how to provide better service to my clients and improve my presentation skills and learn more about podcasting. I write a script, an outline, and I practice the presentation. I shut off all the fans in my office and I put on a sports jacket with my Sellin' lapel pin. You think I just walk into a client or a prospect's office and wing it? No way. I'm a professional. And so are you. So prepare. You've got to prepare before attending a networking event, and you've got to prepare before attending a sales meeting with a client or a prospect. You've also already heard in a previous episode of the Sellin' Podcast where I discussed being prepared before attending a networking event. Here's a quick review. Do some research before the event to find out who will also be attending the event. Check out the posts on LinkedIn to see who else may be attending the event. Find out if any of your clients, prospects, service providers, friends in the industry, who else will be attending the event as well. If there's a panel discussion, look up the panelists on LinkedIn or their company website to learn more about them and their firm. If there is a topic of the panel discussion, and I'm sure there will be, Look up the subject matter on Google or Perplexity. I'm using Perplexity more and more. And brief yourself some on the topic of discussion. This way you'll be prepared. Have some questions memorized. When you attend a networking event, have some questions memorized so that when you're interacting with people, ask people who you meet questions so you can foster a rapport with them and learn more about each other, both professionally and personally. Create and memorize a signature question so you can turn a casual conversation into a business relationship. My signature question is, tell me more about your business and who I can introduce you to in order to help you to build your business. Make it your own, memorize the question, and use it to turn a casual conversation into a business relationship. Create and memorize a breakaway comment. So after you're having a conversation with someone, you're developing a rapport, you're having a casual conversation, you may have spoken some business, and then you want to break away and meet other people. Have a breakaway comment memorized so you can break away from that person who you're speaking with and move on to meet other people at the networking event. For example, say something like, "Nice to meet you. I look forward to meeting up with you again in the future." Or, "It was nice to see you again. I look forward to following up with you in the future." It sounds simple. You think you're going to remember it, but you have got to memorize a breakaway comment so it sounds natural. Have some additional questions memorized so you will be prepared prior to attending the event. Questions such as, what do you do? Are you here with anyone else from your firm? Do you live in the area? How long have you been in business? How did you get into the business? What's new in your industry? Sounds simple enough, but as silly as you may think this sounds, you have got to have these questions written out and memorized. Otherwise, when you're speaking to people at a networking event, you'll just be fishing around in your head as to what to talk about, and you'll end up having a meandering conversation that leads to nowhere, and it's a waste of everyone's time. Don't be that guy. And having a sales call is no different. You have got to be prepared prior to the sales call. You are a professional. This is what all professionals do. You have to be prepared prior to the event, prior to the sales call. You think Bruce Springsteen gets up on stage for 4 hours and just wings it? You think Taylor Swift just gets up on stage and says to her band, "Hey, let's see what happens today. Should we play the song Shake It Off?" Whatever. There's no way. They are prepared professionals. And so am I, and so are you. Take the time, sit alone in silence with a pad of paper and jot down some thoughts about how to be prepared for your meetings with clients and prospects. You're giving some consideration as to how best to present, how to learn what's important to your clients, your prospects, the people in your industry, how to learn more from your clients and prospects, and how best to provide the very best service and the best products in your industry to the people who rely on you the most. That's the people who do business with you. And isn't that why you're having a meeting in the first place? Of course it is. Here are my top 10 tips for being prepared before meeting with clients and prospects and creating a sales script. Number 1, spend some time learning about your client or your prospect. Look them up on LinkedIn or do a Google search on them. Review their website and definitely ask them questions about themselves, personally and professionally, whatever you deem appropriate for the situation. Several years ago, my wife and I were buying a new refrigerator. By the way, have you noticed that every 10 or 12 years appliances burn out? What the? My parents had the same refrigerator for 50 years. I'm in my house 30 years and I've had 3 or 4 refrigerators and every other appliance too. What the? It's frustrating. Okay, now back to our story. My wife and I were buying a new refrigerator again, and the first words out of the salesperson's mouth was, "Here's our cheapest option. Great price, great value." And I'm thinking, the guy hasn't asked me a single question and doesn't have any idea that I am not in the least bit interested in cheap. I don't want cheap. I want quality. And most important of all, my wife wants quality. Here's our cheapest model, great price, great value. Get the out of here. Before you open your mouth, do some research about the people you are selling to. Whether you're selling a product or a service or an idea, learn a little bit about the people you are selling to before attempting to sell them anything. Number 2, what do you want to achieve by meeting with this person or these people? What is the purpose of the sales call? Yes, begin with a casual conversation. Yes, it's important to start with a casual conversation and develop rapport. We're all human beings. We're not robots. Well, not yet anyway. So start with a quick, casual conversation to develop and enhance rapport, of course. And then quickly get on with the purpose of the meeting. People are busy. So very quickly move on to asking questions. During the sales call, asking questions and getting down to why you are meeting with these people. Learning about the people you're meeting with. Asking questions to learn about their needs, their wants, and their desires. And finding a way to meet those wants and desires. And by the way, never start a conversation with, "How are you?" I hate that. "How are you? How are you?" What do people say when you ask them, "How are you?" They always say, "Fine." "How are you?" "Fine." "How are you?" "Fine." "How are you?" "It's fine. I'm fine." It's meaningless and a waste of time. And what if someone actually answered the question, "How are you?" with how they really feel? "How are you?" "Well, actually, I'm a little depressed. My wife and I had an argument with my grandson, and he hasn't spoken to us in 3 months. Oh, great. Now your presentation is dead in the water. Or how about this? You're about to begin to make a sales presentation, and you begin with, "How are you?" And the prospect says, "Actually, I'm glad you asked. I'm having some trouble with my gallbladder, and I have some abdominal pain, and I'm a little nauseous." Oh, terrific. You're going to go into your sales presentation after that? Stop asking people, "How are you?" It's meaningless. And if people aren't fine, then you've got them thinking about their problems, even if they don't tell you about their problems. And they're thinking about their problems and not about your presentation. And when it comes to making a sales call, saying, "How are you?" is a waste of time. Number 3, remember, people are thinking about many, many things, even while you are meeting with them. Some psychological study had been done years ago that found that the average person has over 100,000 thoughts on any given day. So do your best to capture their attention by telling an interesting story or ask them a thought-provoking question. A good example is many years ago, there was a significant change in my industry where we created a department to provide additional services over and above those services that we traditionally provided in our industry. When I made a sales call to discuss the new services, I didn't get into the nitty-gritty of the services provided by these additional services. No, I started my sales calls with, "Would you like to know how we can provide you with additional services, significantly cut your overhead, and put more money in your pocket at no additional charge to you?" You'd better believe that a significant number of people's responses to me was, "What is it?" Start your sales presentation with something of interest to the client. Number 4, focus on the benefit to the client, not on the benefit that you think would be a benefit to you. I'll never forget when I started my sales career, I would tell my prospects that, oh, we had a national presence, that we were the largest firm in the state. Why? Why did I start with that? Because I thought that if I were in their shoes, that's what would be important to me. However, I learned a good lesson. Every once in a while, I'd say we are the largest in the state, blah, 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 national presence. And someone sometimes would say to me in response, oh, that's not what I want. I want a small local guy. And my presentation was a dead duck. I quickly learned to ask questions in order to find out what the prospects really wanted, not what I wanted. And once I learned what they wanted, what they found important, then and only then could I determine how best to provide the services that they needed. And speaking of benefits, think of how your product or service benefits the client. They don't really want your product or service. Wait, what did you say, Jeffrey? Did you just say they don't really want your product or service? Yes, that's what I said. You heard that correctly. They don't really want your product or service. What they want is what your product or service will do to enhance their lifestyle or solve a problem. People don't want a drill. They want a hole. Get it? When people go to the hardware store and buy a drill, they don't really want a drill. They want a hole. People don't want a drill. They want a hole. And always keep in mind that people buy based on emotion, not on logic. We will talk further about that in a future episode of the Sell-In Podcast. Number 5, have a structured presentation, a prepared, structured presentation. Will the structured presentation always go as planned? Let me tell you, no, it won't. Your structured presentation will never go as planned, but create one anyway. You'll have a foundation for the presentation and you'll be prepared. Very important. Come to understand the client or the prospect's problem. Present a solution to their problem, the benefit of your product, service, or idea. Present some testimonials from someone else who had a similar challenge, who was greatly assisted by your product or service, and then a call to action. Hopefully that means purchasing your product or your service. Ask questions. Remember, telling isn't selling. Telling isn't selling. Begin your presentation with open-ended questions such as, do you own any insurance now? Or do you know anyone who may be interested in the XYZ product that I sell? Open-ended questions. And then as the presentation continues, narrow down the presentation by asking more closed-ended questions such as, are you ready to sign the contract? Or what color car are you interested in purchasing today? Ask questions, learn, get to the point, and always ask for the business. Always. I'm reminded of a time that my wife and I were buying a new dishwasher, and the salesman was yammering on and on and on and blah, blah, blah. And finally, I said, when the heck are you going to ask us to buy this thing? Come on, please. I'm begging you. Please let me buy this dishwasher so I can leave your store and get on with the rest of my life. My wife was appalled, of course, and I always appreciate that she puts up with my crazy. So learn, ask questions, and get to the point, and always, always ask for the business, always. Number 6, when appropriate, tell a story. People love stories, as long as it has something to do with helping them to understand that what you are selling them will help to improve their life. Storytelling comes with experience. So if you're new to sales, tell other people's stories until you have some of your own. Tell a story. Melanie, my podcast editor extraordinaire, let's include a link in the show notes to the book Stories That Stick: How Storytelling Can Captivate Customers, Influence Audiences, and Transform Your Business by Kindra Hall. That's by Kindra Hall, Hall. Let's include that in the show notes, Melanie, okay? It's a great book. I highly recommend it. In fact, I read the book and I also listened to it on Audible. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. Number 7, Overcoming objections. Please remember, starting with hearing the word no is a must. Wait, what did you just say, Jeffrey? Hearing no is good? Yes, I know it sounds crazy, but hearing a no is the only way you can sell anything to anyone. Why? Because when you hear the word no, you are able to learn more about the prospect's business. When they say no, they are at least considering your offer, and they've determined that it just isn't right for them at this time. It gives you some information where you can learn how to do business with the prospect, and learning more about a prospect's business is the only way to sell them the product or service that you provide. It's the only way. There have been several times in my sales career where I walked in to make a sales presentation, and the first thing I heard from the prospect's mouth was, "Yes, I'll buy. Yes, I am happy to do business with you." In every situation, I said, "Thank you. I look forward to working with you." I left my business card and I walked out of their office with the biggest grin on my face. Yay, I thought, that was easy. I just made an easy sale. Wow, that was great. Did I ever get any business from any of those people? Absolutely not. Never. Not once. They were just blowing me off. They just wanted me out of their office as soon as possible. I never made a sale without first hearing the word no in the initial sales presentation. So expect it, learn from it, and understand that when you hear the word no, you have something to work with. You can learn what is important to the prospect and how you just may have an opportunity to do business together. Be prepared and learn from the word no. Learn how to professionally overcome the objections you hear so you can best serve the clients. The more sales calls you make, the more experience you'll have in overcoming objections. Use that experience to tailor your sales presentations and be more effective in your sales efforts. I'll never forget when I was new to sales, I was making a sales call with a seasoned sales rep many, many years ago. He didn't have a professional presentation. That is so weak. Here's a guy who had been in the business for many years and he didn't create his own professional presentation. Awful. We were making sales calls and every so often he'd hear the word no. He'd ask for the business and then they would say, "No, I won't work with you. I already have someone I'm working with who provides the same service that you do." "Okay," the sales rep said, and we left the office. How pathetic. Here's a guy who sold for 35 years and never spent the time thinking about how to overcome that objection. Pathetic. That's a guy who's just putting in the time so he can retire, not creating a sales career. He made a living, but he never made a success of himself. So sad. First thing I did after spending the day with him was spend 5 minutes writing down how I could respond to such an objection, because I knew if he was hearing it, I'd be hearing that objection as well. Here's what I came up with. When a prospect says to me, "I'm already using a company just like yours," I say, "Oh, that's great." When they look at me with a twisted mouth and a cocked head and they say, "What's great about it?" I say with a big, broad smile, "Well, if you weren't already using the services of a company just like mine, you and I wouldn't have the ability to do business together. But you do, so we can." When you hear objections, spend some time thinking about why the prospect has that objection and how you can professionally overcome that objection. Then write it down and memorize it. Number 8, keep the sales presentation short and sweet. Get to the point. Remember, people are busy. Don't give them too much information unless they ask. Number 9, keep the sales call engaging and always ask for the order. Always ask for a call to action. Always ask for the order. Always ask to do business with them. Always. You always want to ask your prospect to do business with you. Always. Otherwise, there's no point to the sales presentation. Hey, I hate to admit it, however, sometimes I get so caught up in talking about the services that I provide, asking the prospects questions and developing rapport that I sometimes I sometimes forget to ask for the order. Ugh, yucky poo. Just last week, I had a sales call with 3 prospects, and it was a great meeting. And when I was paying the check for lunch, it dawned on me, damn, I never asked them for the business. I never actually asked them to do business with me. Ugh, terrible. So it even happens to me. Also, one more thing about asking for business during the sales call. After you ask, shut up. Let the prospect spend a little time thinking about your proposal. Give them a little thinking time. I understand that silence can be uncomfortable, but keep quiet and let them speak first. You'll learn something, and when they do speak, you just may have made the sale. Ask for the business and keep quiet. And while I'm at it, on the flip side of that, never ever sell past the sale. What do I mean by that? Well, when someone is interested in buying your product or service, let them buy. I remember once falling in love with a beautiful car, a champagne gold Mercedes E300. I went into the dealership and I said to the salesman, I am ready to buy a new car today and I want a champagne gold Mercedes E300. This idiot says to me, let me show you some other different models that you may also be interested in. When I said, I want the champagne gold Mercedes E300 and I want it today, he insisted on showing me some other models. When he wasted another half hour of my time, I finally asked for a floor manager so I could buy the car that I wanted to buy. Many times salespeople get excited. I understand. Many times salespeople get excited about the product or service that they sell, and they want the client to know everything about it. I get it. I understand that excitement. However, control your emotions. When someone is ready to buy, let them buy. Number 10, keep making sales calls. You'll learn a great deal about your industry, your sales career, and about yourself. And you'll come to understand, as I have, that every sales call, whether it be a success or a failure, is a learning experience. I have made hundreds of thousands of sales calls over my career, and I intend on making hundreds of thousands of more sales calls in my career. And while the overwhelming majority of those sales calls did not result in a sale, every single one of them was a learning experience, every single one of them. Embrace that concept and live it. Here's a bonus tip for preparing before a sales call. Write down all of the names of the people that you will be meeting with on a sheet of paper and spend 15-20 minutes reading their names out loud and visualizing their faces as you are reading their names out loud. If you've never met someone before who will be in attendance, look them up on LinkedIn or look them up on their website. Look at their photo and say their name over and over and over again. Say every single person's name out loud 100 times while thinking of their face. Even if you've known them for 20 years, say their name 100 times and think of their face. Then imagine introducing every single person to one another. Do that 20 times. Be prepared. Even if you know every single person who will be meeting you that day, make sure you think of their face and repeat their names over and over again. Why? Because when you are under pressure, when you are feeling anxiety, you will not want to forget anyone's name. Believe me, it happens and it's embarrassing. Spend 15-20 minutes. You'll thank me someday. Let's face it, if you're not prepared before making a sales call, then you're wasting everyone's time. Don't be that guy. You'll end up having a meandering conversation that you are just hoping may lead to business, and it won't. Let's face it. A meandering, unplanned conversation only leads to nowhere, and you will look the fool. Oh, and one more thing. You'll never get this perfect. You'll always be revising and improving upon your sales presentation. Things change in your industry, and the more sales calls you make, the better you will get at asking questions and learning how you can provide better and better service for your clients. Write up a sales presentation, practice it and use it, change it as time goes on, and you learn more about your clients and about your industry. Don't expect perfection. Zig Ziglar once said, if you have to wait for all the lights to turn green before heading into town, you'll never get your car out of the garage. That is so true. Create and memorize your sales presentation. Practice it, memorize it, use it as a living, breathing presentation that you will be revising and improving over the course of your entire career in sales. Plan out your presentations, be prepared for attending networking events, and be prepared for your sales calls. Now get out there and sell.
We hope you found this episode of the Sellin' Podcast helpful and of interest. Please make sure to like, rate, and review, and mention this podcast to a friend or a business associate. Have a comment about this podcast? Have a topic you'd like Jeffrey to discuss? Feel free to contact Jeffrey directly at jeffrey@sellin.net. He'll read and review every one of your emails. That's jeffrey@sellin.net. .net as in networking for success in sales. Now, take what you've learned today and get out there and sell. See you next time on the Sellin' Podcast.